Here are three price targets that I have for Ethereum in 2025, even though nothing I say is financial advice. But my first price target is going to be $10,000. Now, the reason for that is because I believe that Ethereum is arguably one of the best layer one blockchains of all time. Now, why do I think so? It's because Ethereum, despite its flaws, many people would argue, and I do think this way as well, by the way, we take a look at Ethereum's sky-high gas fees, which is not acceptable in my opinion. Not to mention, we take a look at arguable scalability issues. Even despite that, we take a look at how Ethereum is very amazing in its own right. Fantastic ecosystem. Quality of projects is pretty much unmatched as of right now. A lot of fans, a lot of hype, and it's continuing to grow. Really, despite its flaws, it's still very amazing. However, the cherry on top when it comes to Ethereum is the fact that there are something called Ethereum Layer 2s. Now, through this, Ethereum can pretty much be enjoyed without having to deal with the crazy nonsense, like I mentioned before, like the sky-high gas fees and scalability issues. So in that sense, Ethereum is amazing with additional support. But even still, despite that, the way you take a look at it is that Ethereum is very fantastic. And if anyone is wondering, okay, what are some examples of Ethereum Layer 2s? I'm going to mention some real quick. We take a look at Optimism. We take a look at Arbitrum. We take a look at the Base network, which is Coinbase's Layer 2 network. We take a look at Miria, Immutable. We take a look at, for instance, something like Cody, which is focused on becoming an Ethereum Layer 2 that is privacy-centric. And of course, much more, but I'm just saying, these are some examples. However, even besides that, we have to take a look at Ethereum further because we have to consider that when it comes to the Ethereum ETF, of course, this is going to be very beneficial to something that really people would argue, again, as one of the best layer one blockchains of all time. Oftentimes, people believe in Bitcoin and they think that it's very fantastic, and it is, but really Bitcoin doesn't have much of a dynamic use case. It's pretty much argued as just a store of value, even despite having these Bitcoin layer 2s that could very well, potentially give it new use cases. Bitcoin standalone, people would often argue, hey, this may not have the best use case out there, but really, if you take a look at Ethereum, it's this amazing place where really projects can thrive. And as of right now, Ethereum is still pretty much the go-to place for many AI projects, DeFi, blockchain gaming, and NFTs. And the reason why I think this is very amazing is because the markets that I just mentioned before, they, at least in theory, hypothetically have a lot of potential. Let me explain why. We take a look at, for instance, the AI market. According to Grandview Research, that market size right there is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030. So that's amazing right there. And again, a lot of these AI projects, they're gravitating towards Ethereum. At least a lot of these developers, I would say. So this is right here something that's very fantastic. At least Ethereum being maybe able to play a large role in that. Not to mention, we take a look at how also, yet again, according to Grandview Research, by 2030, they do predict that both the NFT and DeFi market, again, each individually by that year, is each predicted to be worth over $200 billion in terms of market size. And again, a lot of these developers, when it comes to projects that are focused on this, they are choosing Ethereum. So we have to consider the impact that Ethereum could very well play in markets that are predicted in the future to reach hundreds upon hundreds of billions of dollars, and also markets that are predicted to even reach nearly $2 trillion, again, right, like in the case of the AI market by 2030. So really got to take that into consideration, not to mention blockchain gaming. That market size right there, yet again, according to Grandview Research, because, they like to predict things, but even besides that, by 2030, they predict that the blockchain gaming market is going to be worth over $300 billion. So again, a lot of these projects, they do choose Ethereum as a place to be, quite essentially. So the way I view it is that, man, Ethereum is pretty much the go-to place. It's not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon. This is pretty much, again, arguably one of the best layer one blockchains of all time. And really, the markets aren't limited to that, right? There's many other markets out there, but I'm just highlighting a few that are very popular and very famous. So again, Ethereum is not going anywhere in a bad direction anytime soon, especially with the Ethereum ETF. I get it as of right now, the whole space overall isn't necessarily doing the best, but really, we even see many enterprises out there moving beyond Bitcoin to really start acquiring Ethereum and really believing in this. And I don't see what's so wrong about it. I think this is amazing. And again, $10,000, I don't see why not during this bull run. Now, my second price target for Ethereum is going to be $12,500. Now, some people may think it's crazy, but I don't think so. And let me explain why. Because first of all, if Ethereum were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, at that point, market cap would be around $1.5 trillion, which I get it. Some people may think is a little bit insane. They think it's crazy, but really we have to take this into consideration. Many people out there are saying that, hey, XRP is going to go to a $10-20 trillion market cap or whatever the case may be during this board. Now, is that realistic? Nah, I don't think so. So if you think about that, when I say that Ethereum is hypothetically going to go to around a $1.5 trillion market cap, I just don't see why this is too crazy, really. Especially as of right now with over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, which is more than ever before in history. I highly doubt that this board is going to be bad, and I don't think $12,500 is too much to ask for Ethereum during this bull run. Now, my third and final price target for Ethereum is going to be $15,000. Now, the reason for that is because, first of all, I'm going to harp back to what I mentioned not too long ago, and that is the fact that there's currently over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research. Now, why is this figure very impressive? Because not only is this more than ever before in history, but it's actually very impressive given perspective, because sometimes people may think that, oh, it's not even 10% of the world's population, who cares? Well, here's the thing. We have to consider how back in 2021, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. Now, again, we pretty much have double. And we got to consider how, Ethereum did very amazing that year with far less crypto owners than we have right now. So imagine this time around, especially with the Ethereum ETF, also the Bitcoin ETF, which I think is very positive for the whole space overall. We take a look at the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption. Really, I just don't think this is too much to ask for, at least in my opinion. Now, how soon? Usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, historically speaking, they've been known to peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Again, this is as a worst case scenario based off history. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so April of 2024. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year, which is why I call this video 2025 price targets, because I'm more so taking a look at that date. Now, this is no surefire date because things could always happen a little bit later or maybe a little bit sooner, which would be awesome. But I'm just saying it's not a surefire date because each cycle is going to be a little bit different, or in some cases very different. Only time will tell, but again, I'm going to pay attention to this nonetheless, and I'm very bullish, and I think this board is still far from over. Again, with over 600 million crypto owners, I don't think it is over just yet. And I think that the most recent quote-unquote top that we saw when it comes to, let's say Bitcoin and all this, I don't think that is actually the real peak for this bull run, at least in theory and hypothetically, and I think better days are ahead. And again, Ethereum at the price of $15,000 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciated. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.